Hi BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reads video. This is for week number 19. It's May the 9th through the 15th of 2021. So in this video, as I always do, I will go through everything that I have read this week, and I had 7 books this week, and I did DNF a book. I will talk about that book midway through the other books, like it's the next book in series, so I finished the earlier book this week, like the book before it, so I'll talk about all that when I discuss that book, and I will show you guys what I'm currently reading, and then I will show you the little bit of crafting or cross-stitch that I have gotten done this week. So that is exciting. So it is Sunday. It is the 16th of May today. So to start off with, cheers to my dad. Happy birthday to my dad. It would have been his 72nd birthday today. Miss him terribly, and I wish he was here to celebrate with us. But like Mom and I said this morning, he is celebrating with his mom, and my grandmother probably is baking him a sprinkle cake. She didn't care how old you were or what your personal cake preference was. For every birthday, everybody's birthday, she made those sprinkle cakes. They're the ones from like, it's a cake mix, right? And it's got like the sprinkles, is it sprinkles or rainbows or whatever you want to call it, like inside. She loved them. She didn't care what anybody else liked. That's what she made for your birthday. So Dad's probably enjoying that, but I hope she also made him pierogies, which was his other favorite thing. So yeah, so cheers to Dad. Happy birthday. Miss you, my friend. Miss you terribly. It's the birthday that gets me more than anything else, right? You don't want to remember, you know, the bad stuff leading up to losing him. It's the birthdays and the celebrations and stuff like that. So they're happy memories. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I apologize, sorry. So the other thing is that yesterday I had my very first COVID shot. So yay, I am so happy. I didn't realize how relieved I would be when I was finished. I mean, for one, because I was super, super nervous about having it done. I was concerned about any reaction I was going to have or anything like that, because you hear horror stories from other people and stuff, but I was fine. Last night I was tired, and I had, like, my arm was hurting and I had a headache. So I took a couple Tylenol before bed, slept no problem, and woke up this morning and I feel good. My arm's a little sore, like lifting it, like that's about as far as I can go. So I'll be like, when I'm holding stuff up, I'll try and be, you know, but yeah, other than that, that's really it. It's just sore. So we'll see how I feel later on today, because I've heard a lot of people, it's usually the next day, later on the next day, that they start to feel off. And I had mine about 6:15 last night, so it was later in the evening. But I'm happy it's done. Yay, shot number 1. Number 2, I am not due until the first week of September. So there's a long, up here in Ontario, there's a long gap between your first and second dose, just because of supply. So they're hoping, like they told me, that it might get pushed forward. If so, I'll receive an email or something like that. But as it stands right now, early September is for shot number 2. So as always, everything will be timestamped in the description box below if you want to jump ahead to any reviews or any part of this video. So yeah, let's get into the book reviews, you guys. So the first book that I finished this week was Tracking a Kidnapper by Valerie Hansen. This book I gave 4 stars to. It was from NetGalley, so thank you very much to NetGalley and to Harlequin for sending me an e-art copy of this one to review. It is book number 5 in the True Blue Canine Unit Brooklyn series, and it's a love-inspired suspense novel number 837. This was originally published in August of 2020, and it is an inspirational romantic suspense. So this one deals with a kidnapping. Now, this is the 5th in the series, but I read it no problem as a standalone. So essentially our main characters in this are Vivian and Caleb. And she works with the canine unit. She has a dog whose name is Hank, and I love Hank. He's on the cover here. He just looks so cute. That's the kind of dog I would love. And I said it in another video, like a German Shepherd or a Golden Retriever or a Retriever of some kind. But those black and white, they're just so adorable. I just want one with like big floppy ears. Years from now, years and years and years from now. So anyway, that's what we're thinking. So anyway, she's the canine handler, and he is a FBI profiler. So at the beginning of the book, the very beginning of the book, it starts right off with some action that there's a little boy who's kidnapped on the promenade in Brooklyn, like the promenade, wherever people go walking, and an attempted kidnapping, excuse me, and they stop him. And then her and Caleb are trying to find out who this kidnapper is, because the little boy was kind of left and then the kidnapper got away. So the whole thing is that they're trying to catch the kidnapper. Hence the title, Tracking a Kidnapper. So the two of them are working together, and they end up having to go to a safe house. I mean, it's all very, very clean because this is an inspirational. So there is no adult content, no swearing, no any of those things. My only complaint with this book, and it's minor because I do understand that it's an inspirational romantic suspense, so I get that faith is really going to be discussed. However, big portions of this book take place inside this police precinct, this canine police precinct. There's a lot of talk about faith and religion. And, you know, I guess just because I have always worked in offices that are very multicultural, you know, lots of different belief systems, religion is not something that you discuss necessarily in the workplace. So I didn't buy that so much, if I can use that, buy it. I didn't buy it really, you know, like it just seemed like it would be, I can understand two coworkers perhaps sitting in the break room together having a discussion, but it's like the two coworkers, like the two cops were having this discussion, then the sergeant came out and he joins in the discussion, and then somebody, and I'm like, it just, like, is this in a church basement? Like, where is this precinct happening? It just seemed a little bit, you know, I didn't knock it too much for it because I know that's what the book is meant to be. However, it just didn't seem realistic to me. So, but overall, I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was really cute. It was a lot of fun. I really liked the characters in this one, and like I said, I gave it 4 stars. The next one that I read was Summer Nights by Susan Mallery. This book I also gave 4 stars to. It is the 8th book in the Fool's Gold series, publication date of June of 2012. This is a contemporary romance novel. I did listen to it on audio, and it was narrated by Tanya Eby. This is, like I said, the 8th book in the Fool's Gold series. But what's funny is that I'm almost certain I've read through this entire series. But I read this one, I'm like, I don't remember this one. So I think there may have been some that I missed. Or did I just, or I think actually, I don't, now that I'm starting to doubt that I've actually read through the entirety of the series. I think I read up to like book 6 or 7, and there's like 20 books. And I think I was buying them, but I don't remember getting around to reading them. So that's okay. It means I get to experience them all as brand new. So I counted this one not as a reread, but as just like a new read, because I legit did not remember it. So this is the story of Annabelle and Shane, and it's really, really cute. So Annabelle is our local, the local librarian in Fool's Gold. And I love the dedication in this book because Susan Mallery said, she goes, this is dedicated to all the librarians who asked me to write a librarian character who wasn't buttoned up and stuffy and, you know, the atypical librarian that people are used to reading about in books, especially in romance, you know, the librarian with her glasses and, you know, and, oh, she's very stuffy, but the hunk is going to, you know, set her loose, if you will. And at the beginning of the book, she is up dancing on a bar at the local town bar. And she's doing the Dance of the Virgins, as it's called. And she's trying to raise money, not by dancing on the bar, but she's trying to raise money for for her library to get a bookmobile. Because there's a lot of people who live like up the mountains and stuff like that who don't have access to the library to come down. Maybe they might be even migrant workers and things like that. So she wants to get a bookmobile for the kids so the kids can borrow books. And because right now she's kind of driving them herself just to give people access to the books, which is fabulous. So Shane is a local horse breeder, and she decides that there's going to be this festival and that she wants to ride on a horse and do this dance that's also on a horse or something like that. It's to do with the local tribes people, like I don't want to say ancient because it wasn't ancient. It was like however many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there were this tribe that lived in the area and, you know, stuff like that. So she wants to do this dance with this horse, but she doesn't know how to ride a horse. So Shane, begrudgingly, he kind of gets suckered into it to teaching her how to ride a horse. And then, of course, their relationship goes from there. He at first is like, well, this might be the woman for me because he's divorced and his ex-wife was very outgoing, let's say, and very quote-unquote wink-wink, nudge-nudge friendly. Sorry, guys, I forgot my my medication thing was going to pop up and stop my camera. So she was very, very friendly to men who were not her husband, and she cheated on him and things like that. So he really wants a very quiet woman, somebody he thinks in his head. He doesn't want any sort of wild person, like person who would dance on a bar, for example, because he wants a quiet life. He wants to, you know what I mean? He doesn't want to deal with the drama anymore that he had with his ex-wife. So he thinks Annabelle at first is going to be great for him. When he hears about her, it's like, oh, the local town librarian. And then when he meets her, he realizes that, hey, that's the girl who was dancing on the bar on Friday night. Maybe she's not for me. But of course, they do develop a relationship. It's really, really cute. Gets hot and spicy. It's very typical for these books by Susan Mallery. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And yeah, the other thing, without giving away too much in this book, I did notice reading this one that okay, so backtrack for those of you who haven't been watching me for a while. A couple years ago, I attempted to do a read through the series Virgin River by Robin Carr, and I couldn't do it because I found it to be extremely heavy on pregnancy and motherhood and all these things, and I'm like, I'm just not into that. Like, everybody in that town got pregnant. Contrary to the name of the town, everybody was getting pregnant. I noticed in this one that it's the same thing. Like, there seems to be a lot of babies and a lot of, like, none of the couples are like, oh, we're just going to be happy just by ourselves and just kind of, you know, do our own thing and we don't need kids. It seems to be like relationship, marriage, kids. Do you know what I mean? Like that typical order. So, but the difference is I like this because I feel it's not preachy. I realize now that my issue with the Robin Carr series is that I found it to be preachy in that aspect that this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You know, like motherhood is supposed to be, that's the reason you're here. That's how it felt to me. Whereas this one, it's just like, oh yeah, so we decide to have a kid. Okay, everything is fine. Yay. You know, like the tone is different. That's the only way that I can describe it. It's not like it's less babies. It's just the tone is different, and that makes a big difference, I feel, to the reader. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I just want to mention that. The next book that I finished was In Too Deep by Jill Sanders. I gave this one 3 stars. This one is book number 4 in the Graydon series. Publication date of September of 2015. This is a contemporary romance novel, and it was narrated on audio by Roy Samuelson. So, 4th book in the Graydon series. I started to read book 5 after this, and I DNF'd the series because this one, how do I describe this? So, the plot of this story, it is, I'm trying to even remember, oh yeah, of course, I remember what it was. So this is the story of Missy and Roman. And Missy and Roman were raised together as foster siblings. So they were raised together as siblings, period. So she was like 8 to his 10 when they first met. So they were young. They weren't like older teenagers. They were young. And they referred to each other as siblings. However, when they got older, they started a physical relationship. And I'm like, what? Like, I get that. And they kept stressing in the book. They're like, oh, but we know we're not full-blooded siblings. But it's still weird. It's still that ick factor to me. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, regardless, you think this, you were raised as calling, like, because the whole premise of the Graydon series, it's a group of siblings who are it's a group of foster siblings, and each one of them individually finding romance, and then here in book 4, we're getting 2 of them hooking up together. However, like, for example, Missy calls everybody else brother and sister, and Roman does the same thing, but yet they don't call each other. So I was looking through the reviews of this book, and no one else mentioned this. Everyone gave this book like 4 or 5 stars. And okay, granted, if you take out the fact that they were raised as siblings, yes, it was a good story, but I couldn't get past that. I'm sorry. I just didn't buy it. I just didn't. Not that I didn't buy it. They weren't trying to sell me anything, but I just couldn't. It was too much for me. And, so I did finish it, and there was a whole secret baby thing in there as well, that she got pregnant, then she took off. because something about her being raised in this cult, and the cult found her and they wanted to take her child away because her child was the chosen one. It was okay. So the reason I DNF'd the whole series, though, is because I started reading the next book. And I'm like, all right, that one's done. I've read it. It had an ick factor to me, but c'est la vie, let's move on to the next book. And then the next book was dealing with, like, a sister of one of the others. It's the way these small town stories tend to read. So you're getting, like, your core group of characters, and then you'll get, like, offshot characters. So this was one of the offshot characters. And her dad had spent most of her childhood away. Like, when she was really little, he was a biker. She didn't know that at the time, but she found that out later. And then he came home when she was about 10. And he came home and stayed home because he had cancer. So he needed to be kind of looked after. And then it turns out, she finds out later on that there was this boy on the streets that her father had took under his wing and brought into this gang. And then one night she's sitting at home after work, and there's a knock on her door, and it's this, not boy anymore, but a full-grown man looking for her father, who passed away like 12 years earlier. And he's been shot, and it was this whole thing, and this, like, mob people are after him. My issue with these books is that, A, they're like 250 pages long, and B, like, so on audio, they're like 4 hours long. And I just feel like the author is trying to cram in way too many huge, deep plot lines that just don't fit. I'm sorry. You look at the cover of these books, you guys, and they are super cute looking beach reads. That's not what you're getting. Like, this one was about mobsters. So, Swept Away is the book I'm talking about now. Sorry, I should have the cover up here for you guys to see. I know I kind of jumped from one to the other. I apologize. But, and then the other one, the In Too Deep, was like something to do with cults, and that she got away from a cult, and she was supposed to marry this guy at the age of 8 in this cult. It just seemed like these things that happen. I know we have to take a lot of fiction with a grain of salt, that this wouldn't necessarily happen to the average person in real life. However, when you have this group of characters who tend to have, like, you know, somebody's been shot at, somebody was part of a cult, somebody's been on the run from a mob, you don't generally see all of that within a single group of friends, unless you've met these friends at some weird places. I don't know. I said I'm done, and I got 2 chapters into it, and I'm like, no, I'm done. And I just put this one down, and I'm sorry. I like her writing a lot. I really, really do. She does a great series called The Pride, but it's very similar. That you're getting, like, a lot of these really deep, deep issues. Not even issues, but just situations that the average person would never deal with, nor know anybody who would ever deal with it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I just stepped away from it. And I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. So, next up, I read The Marine's Secret Daughter by Carrie Nichols. This one I gave 4 stars to. It is book number 1 in the Small Town Sweetheart series. This is Harlequin Special Edition novel number 2604. Publication date February of 2018. This is, of course, a contemporary romance novel. This was so cute. So this is the story of Meg and Riley. So Meg is actually short for Megan. And they had a relationship when they were younger, and then he went off to fight in Afghanistan. And he came back because there was an issue. One of his, the guys who was serving under him, died in a bomb explosion. So he's kind of come home. He was originally, like, in a medical facility getting treated for his injuries. He has a shoulder issue, and then he ended up coming home to kind of recoup for 30 days to make a decision on what to do, whether to re-enlist or to, I guess, retire, if you will. And he's dead set. He's going to re-enlist. These are his men. He doesn't want to leave them alone in a war zone. He's going back to them as soon as he can. So then he meets back up with Meg. And it turns out that when him and Meg had their fling, she got pregnant. She did try to contact him, but he did not answer her letters because he felt it was best if he just let her go. Like, he's going to be over here, and if he dies, he doesn't want that weighing on her. So he never even read her letters to find out that she was pregnant. So when she realizes that this is the case, she doesn't know what to do. Like, their little girl is actually on vacation with her parents. So she's not in the picture for the majority of the story, which was kind of really interesting. Like, it's a secret child thing, but the child itself isn't there. So Meg is kind of struggling throughout the entire course of the book before they actually meet. on how to introduce the two of them and how to bring it up. And as time just keeps going on, she realizes that, you know, she's missing this chance, and if she keeps it from him, you know. So anyway, it was adorable. I really, really, really liked it. I love the little girl when you finally meet her. Her name's Fiona, and she's like, Fiona, like the princess. I'm like, yay. I just thought that she was an absolute delight. And I adored Meg and Riley. They had a great, great chemistry. Great characters. This is a great small town romance. It takes place in Vermont, in a town called Loon Lake, Vermont. I have read the 4th book in this series, The Scrooge of Loon Lake. And I read that about a year or so ago. And so now I'm going to be reading book 2 this week, I think. Or no, yeah, I'm going to read book 2 this week. And then the final book next week. And or the week after, the last week of May. So I will be completely finished this, or caught up on this series. And her newest one comes out in August. So I'm really, really looking forward to that one. I didn't realize that there was going to be another book written, and I'm very excited about it. If you like small town, if you like secret baby trope, second chance romance, check this one out. Really adorable. The next one I finished was Kristy and the Missing Child by Anne M. Martin. This book I gave 3 stars to. I give all the Babysitters Club books 3 stars unless there's something spectacular about them that I up the star rating. This is the 4th book in the Babysitters Club mystery series. Publication date of May of 1992, and this is a middle grade fiction mystery. So in this one, Kristy is coaching her little softball team, and after the game, or after the coaching session, all the kids head for home. And I think his name is Jake, if I remember. I think he's about 10 years old. And he's walking home by himself. He's like, my mom said I could, so off he goes. And then later on, Kristy gets a call from Jake's mom being like, have you seen him? He's gone missing. So the entire plot of the book is them trying to find him. Now, all the Babysitters Club books are rereads for me, but this one I didn't remember. And I'll be honest, guys, it legit kept me going, like kept me thinking, like, there were like 2 ways it could have gone, because, I mean, granted, it's a middle grade mystery book. You know, they're going to throw all the clues out there for you that you should know, kind of an idea. So there are 2 ways that it could have gone. And like the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, did it go this way, or is this where he is? And like, I thought that's what, but it kept me reading, guys, legit. Like, and it was fun. And everything was okay in the end, and everything worked out in the end. And, you know, I liked it. It was 3 stars. It was fun. The next book I finished, wow, you guys, this one was great, was The Perfect Murder by Kat Martin. This one I gave 4 stars to. This is a NetGalley read, so thank you very much to Harlequin and to NetGalley for sending me an e-art copy of this one to read and review. Book 4 in the Maximum Security series. This one has a publication date of June 22nd, 2021. Has not been released yet. But if you like romantic suspense, guys, put this on your radar because it was really good. So, this book was so fast-paced. I really enjoyed this one. So this is the story of Mackenzie and Reese. And he is like a tech kind of guy, not tech, oil. He works in oil, right? So the beginning of the book, he is trying to buy this like offshore rig off the coast of Texas, like somewhere down there, this offshore drilling rig. And there's some bad people who do not want him to purchase it. So there are threats on his life. There are threats on Kenzie's life because she is actually his executive assistant. And then something happens to her son. Her ex-husband gets murdered, which is the whole plot of The Perfect Murder. And Kenzie is kind of being framed for his murder. So there's like all these things going on. This story, if the only way I can describe it is outside of the romance part of it, because there is some romance, there is some very adult content in this book. If you took that out, this book would read, it felt to me like it would read like something by Lee Child, like a Jack Reacher novel, like not to all the guns and explosions and things like that, but just that heightened sense of like espionage and intrigue and gunfights and, you know, constant vigilance because something is constantly happening. It was so good. So like I said, this is the 4th book in a series. Now, you do not have to have read the first 3. I have not. I think I've read the 2nd book, but I have not read books 1 and 3. But I had no problem following along what was going on in here. This is very much a self-contained story. It features characters from the previous books, and the whole plot is this group of brothers who run this security agency. That's kind of like the series tie-in. So each book is about a different brother, essentially. And Reese is one of the brothers, but he doesn't work for that industry. Like, he works in the oil industry, as I said. But, of course, his brothers work for the security agency, so when the you-know-what hits the fan, he is going to call on them for help, essentially. So really, really good. Really good. Kat Martin does these so well, in my opinion. Like, this is like her bread and butter. And I was really invested. I read this book. It's an over 300-page book. I read it in like little over like 2 days, in less than 2 days. So good. I couldn't put it down. Highly, highly recommend this one. And before I get on to the last book of the month, coffee. No, I'm not drinking it in one of my mugs. I just left it in my, as my husband calls it, a shot glass of coffee. I'm trying to cut down the caffeine, you guys. So I've gone to small. Like, I know I could drink decaf, but I'm sorry, it doesn't taste the same. It's just not the same. I want my little bit of caffeine every day. The last book I finished this week, you guys. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams. I finally got to this one, and I'm kicking myself for waiting this long. Although this other part of me is like, I'm glad I did, because I immediately want the next book, and it comes out at the end of July. I think it's the end of July. But I actually have an e-arc of the final book. However, I listened to this one on audio, and I love the narrator. So I went ahead and I used one of my credits from Audible, and I pre-ordered the 4th book on audio. So I gave this book, you guys, 5 stars. 5 stars. This is my favorite in the series. So thank you to NetGalley and to Berkeley for sending me an e-arc copy of this one to read and review. Book 3 in the Bromance Book Club. The publication date of this one was October of 2020. And of course, this is a contemporary romance, and it was narrated on audio by Andrew Eldon. I did end up using a credit to get a copy of this one on audio, and I'm so glad I did, because the narrator is, as I said, fabulous. So this is the story of Alexis and Noah, and they have been friends. This is a friends to lovers romance. They have been friends for a good long time, and she has kind of been dealing with some crap in her past, an attempted assault or an assault with a former, like her former boss, and she kind of got raked over the coals for it. She now runs this little cafe called the Tobin's Cafe. She has a cat, this big, huge cat named Beefcake, and so then Alexis and Noah are going to take their relationship from friends to lovers, of course. However, within all of that, they're dealing with some stuff with their past. Noah was younger. He was about 15 when his father died. I think he was in the military, if I'm remembering. And Alexis never knew who her father was. And then she gets approached by this woman who is actually her half-sister. And, you know, then finds out that, yeah, her father's still alive, but he's actually dying because he needs a kidney. And the sister contacted her, tracked her down to see if she could donate a kidney. So, I mean, these are some pretty heavy topics as well. We're dealing with sexual assault in this one because of Alexis's past. This whole thing with like this found family and this whole organ donation thing. And then Noah dealing with the past, dealing with the death still of his father, and a lot of unresolved issues from there. So a lot of heavy stuff happening in this. However, Lyssa K. Adams has done a brilliant job of balancing that with some great humor. The scenes with the rest of the guys in the Bromance Book Club, hands down, were my favorites. My favorites. So one of the characters is getting married in this book. One of the ones from one of the previous books. So there, and my favorite character is the Russian. And I talked about this. The Russian is my favorite, and his book is next. And that's why I had to get his book on audio, because the narrator does a brilliant job of his voice, and his scenes made me laugh out loud. There's one that they're going to, like I said, like this bachelor weekend. They're going to like a spa and resort for this bachelor weekend. So there's the Russian, and they're waiting to like get in the car or something like that. And he's watching something on his phone, and he's laughing. They're like, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "What did he say? Raccoon eating grapes." And then you just hear this, "Oh, raccoon eating popcorn." And I'm just cracking up laughing. You had to be there. And a whole scene at this diner in reference to Frank and Beans. That's all I'm going to say. So these books do get spicy. There is some adult content in here. They're just a delight, you guys. An absolute delight. If you have not picked up this series, you need to. Like, the first book, I kind of was like, meh. You know, my issue with the first book was the fact that I felt that the issue between the two characters is something that could have been avoided had they have just sat down and had a 10-minute conversation, which drives me crazy. The second book was good. It was good. But this one was just fabulous. And I'm really looking forward to book 4, which I'm hoping to get to. I think, like I said, I think it comes out in July. So I do have to wait for the audiobook to be released because I do really, really want to consume this one on audio because I think it's going to be really good. But anyway, yeah. So that one, 5 stars. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So that is everything that I have read this week, you guys. Not a bad reading week. I am attempting the book a day in May. That's being hosted by Elizabeth over at Lizzie Falo's Books, or co-hosted by Elizabeth. So I read 7 books this week, but as of today, so today's the 16th, I've finished 14 books this month. So I'm hoping to finish an audiobook today. And then my print book that I'm reading, I'm hoping to finish tomorrow. So I'm hoping to get back on track. To finishing by the end of the month to have a book a day done is my goal. So what am I currently reading? Currently on audio, I am listening to The Path to Sunshine Cove by RaeAnne Thayne. This is the 2nd book in the Cape Sanctuary series. It's good. It's good. This is a women's fiction novel. It deals with the relationship between 2 sisters. That's the heart of the story. There is a bit of a romance in here, but mostly it's the relationship between the 2 sisters as well as each of the sisters individually, kind of working through issues on their own. So I will talk more about it next week, but I am really enjoying it. And then the other one that I just started yesterday, I hoped to get further in it yesterday than I did, but I didn't, unfortunately, because I was a little nervous throughout the whole day and a little grumpy because I knew I had to go for my vaccine, and I was nervous about how I was going to feel afterward. Turns out I worried for nothing, which is generally the case, right? Worrying really doesn't get you anywhere, guys. But I did start reading A Cowboy for All Seasons by Maisey Yates. This is by Maisey Yates, Caitlin Cruz, Jackie Ashenden, and Nicole Helm. So I'm only just a little bit through. So I'm hoping to get a little over halfway through today. It's a very quick read. I just did a little bit of reading last night and this morning, and I'm already 60 pages into it. Essentially what the plot of this one is, it's about 4 best friends who grew up in this town of Jasper Creek. And they separated after high school and all kind of went off doing their own thing. And now they're all back when one of the characters ends up getting left at the altar. And they decide to open local stores in town because it was their childhood dream to do that. So now they're going to go ahead and do that. And each one is going to get her own individual story. But what I love, you guys, I just need to show you this. So there are pictures, like at the beginning of each new story, because there's 4 stories in here, there's an image. So that is the Happily Ever After bookstore. So, but that kind of fronts the beginning of each of the stories. So far, it's really, really cute. I read the first one, and this is part of a series. The Jasper Creek collection is essentially it. And last year's, or the one that came out in 2020, beginning of 2020, was called A Cowboy for All Seasons. So yeah, so I am enjoying this one immensely. So that's what I'm currently reading. So now on to my crafting. I worked on 2 different cross-stitch projects this week. I was going to work on this one straight through, but I kind of needed a break. But I will show you anyway what I've done. This is the Walk Fast pattern by Lindy Stitches. Rainy over at Rainy Day Reads and I are kind of buddy stitching this together. I got a pretty decent amount done this week. However, I needed a break from it. Oops. Because you're pretty much only using 2 colors at this point. I was a little bored. So I needed to pick up something else. But that's what I have done so far. So it's kind of hard to see. But I mean, this takes a bit of time. Like all this edging and stuff like that. So, and then, I started putting the words in just to get a different color in there, essentially. So, yeah. If you did not see last week, I did show what this whole thing is going to look like, or the other week. It's a quote from the Golden Girls. And it says something like, hold on. So it says, it's like that old, and it's Scandinavian saying, you can lead a herring to water, but you have to walk fast or he'll die. Which just sounds like the most ridiculous thing ever. But the pattern is just delightful. And I am actually, for the first time, changing colors. I usually go exactly what the cross-stitch pattern says. If it calls for this color, that's the color I'm going to do. But I am changing one of the colors in here. So you'll see that when I get to it eventually. But yeah, I am really, really enjoying stitching on that one right now. But I needed, like I said, a break. I needed to do something that was a little bit more colorful. And I picked the most colorful cross-stitch pattern I'm currently working on. And that is let me move this over here. This is my spring sampler by the designer Trellis and Time. So I'm not going to take it out of the hoop. So I'm going to do some more work on it today. And it's a bit of a pain to get in and out of the hoop. But you know what? Forget it. Let me just take it out so you guys can see the whole thing in all of its glory. Because this pattern is just beautiful. I love the colors on this. I love the way it pops against this fabric, which is called chalkboard. So it's not like a true black, nor it's a gray. It's a dark, dark gray. But isn't that pretty? Like, look at the hummingbird and the butterfly. I love this. So right now I'm doing like a string of hearts across here. I've got one more to do here. And then I'm going to go down, and underneath it's going to say spring. And then there's another part down. So it's a sampler, essentially. So you're doing all these individual little motifs, if you will. So then I've got a big motif here that says spring with flowers. And then underneath that is another big one, I think, that's got sheep. So I'm really excited about getting to that one. But this is going to be so cute. The colors just make me so happy in this one. And, ow, sorry, hurting my arm holding that up. So let me try this. So yeah, so I am enjoying this one immensely. It has been so, so, so much fun to stitch. And I'm looking forward to getting some more work done on it today. So that's it, you guys. That's all that I have for this video today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Coming up this week, I do have a video. As I mentioned in my kind of life channel update, I'm only having one. Well, I'm going to have a Friday Reads next week, but I've got one video coming out next week, and that is my special announcement video. There's a readathon coming, you guys, that I am co-hosting with a very, very good friend of mine. So the details for all of that will be out on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, so until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.